Wow, if we just left and cut the meeting off for right here, we would all be leaving away with such valuable information. Thank you so much, Pastor Joe. Just like he said today, we are featuring 4 extraordinary individuals, each with a unique story to tell about their entrepreneurial journey. Today, our goal is to gain valuable insights from their experiences as business owners and leaders in the topic of human resources. We'll dive into the challenges they've faced, the lessons they've learned, and how aspiring entrepreneurs like you can apply these lessons to your own ventures. Now let's take a moment to meet our seasoned panelists. First on our panel is Pastor Joe, who brings a wealth of experience to the table. He and his wife, Barbara, are an inspiring couple who've seamlessly blended faith and business in the community of Brick. Their journey is a testament to the power of combining principles of faith with sound business practices, and we're eager to hear the insights Pastor Joe will share with us. After 46 years of marriage, I know he has much wisdom that he can share about life and business as well. Our next panelist is Michael Viola, a true veteran in the world of business, with over 30 years of experience. Michael's story is one of resilience, from being deep in debt to now being debt-free, as he successfully navigated the ups and downs of the economy, even during the challenging recession of 2007. Not only is he a thriving entrepreneur, but he also actively contributes to his community as a campus pastor at our very own Bayville campus, and is a leader in various business associations. Michael's journey is bound to inspire and inform our discussion. Joining us today is Rick Tokarski, the visionary behind Tokarski-Millemann Architects. He's taken his firm from humble beginnings in a spare bedroom to a thriving 10-person team handling an impressive 120 projects annually. Rick's dedication to his craft is rivaled only by his commitment to community service with involvement in architectural associations, disaster relief organizations, and church ministries. Rick's story is a testament to the power of perseverance and community engagement. Last but certainly not least, we have Justin Bosak, co-founder of Ocean 6 Group and Remax Revolution. Justin's extensive experience in the real estate industry spans over a decade and a half, during which he's completed over 600 transactions. Leading a team of 155 agents across multiple offices, they've collectively sold an astonishing $1 billion in real estate. Justin's accomplishments are a true inspiration, and we look forward to hearing his insights into the world of real estate and entrepreneurship. And then there's me. I'm your moderator for today. I'm Caroline Gargiulo. I first started my career as a teacher. I was a Spanish teacher for 14 years. Halfway through my career of real estate, the Lord led me to start real estate. And so during that time, I was enjoying both careers, and then, of course, the pandemic hit. And 2 years ago, I decided to become a full-time entrepreneur, and now I'm just selling real estate. So for those of you who are just stepping in, I'd love to chat with you after this if you want. All right. So now we're going to get started. Our first topic we're going to be covering today is leverage. How they came about hiring their first hire and how it came to be. So Rick, I know this is a topic that is important to you and you have a lot of insight on it. So tell us about your first hire and how it came about.
So starting off as a solopreneur, I started in a bedroom in my house. The first employee I got was an intern who was working out of my house until the point where I needed to hire a second person, and my wife said, "You need to go find an office." So my first full-time employee after that, when I started my office, was an admin person. It was an office manager. I got some great advice early on, saying, you only have so much time in the day. The things that you're good at, you need to focus on, and the things that you can delegate to somebody else, you need to delegate them. So it was great advice that I got, because I was thinking that I needed more production people, more architects, more designers. But I think focusing on an office manager to help free up my time to help build the business made a world of difference. And you can do that as these days you have virtual assistants, you can have part-time people. But I definitely recommend getting somebody to help with the administrative stuff and the stuff that you don't need to be doing, so that you can concentrate on your business and growing the business.
Awesome, thank you. Does anybody else want to talk about their first hire and how it came about?
My first hire was my wife. When God calls you to something, he doesn't just call you by yourself, and that's something that we've learned today. He calls your family to something, just like he's called our family into ministry under the vision that Pastor Joe has been given by the Lord here in New Beginnings Church, and it works the same way in business. And so, no, my wife doesn't pick up a hammer every day. I don't put her on the roof, and she doesn't install siding. But she takes care of everything in the office that I can't be there to take care of, because as you know, as a business owner, you can't do everything in the business. And that's something that I struggled with early on in our business. I was doing everything. And if you do that for a long period of time, you're going to burn out quickly. And so a lot of you probably already realize that. So the mindset is, if God has called you to business, that means he has called other people to come alongside you in business. And every day I pray, Lord, whoever you have called to be alongside me in business, I ask you to point that person out, put them in front of me, that I would be able to bring them alongside what you've called us to do, that they may be blessed and their family may be blessed in business with us. So that's been a prayer on my heart and my wife's heart for many years, that the Lord would bring those people alongside us. Now, some people are called just to come for a season. They're not called perhaps to be with you forever. You'll see that even in church. The Lord brings people for a season alongside us to accomplish something special. And then that person may move along. And so we see it in ministry, but we also see it in business. And so we need to understand that. Not everyone's called alongside us for years and years and years. Perhaps they're called alongside us for just a short period of time to accomplish something special.
That's good. Thank you so much. I know that for me, when I was teaching and doing real estate, I thought I was working so hard, and I was. But then when I left teaching, I gained 40 hours of my life back. And then the year right after, I doubled my business. And so leverage is really important for us as entrepreneurs, because we think that we can do everything ourselves, but there's somebody out there that can do it just as good or maybe even better. And I know that it's often difficult, to find that first hire. So can anybody talk about that a little bit more? Did you hire the wrong person first? I know you obviously didn't, Pastor Mike. But did anybody hire the wrong person first? And anybody have anything to talk about that?
I will share this. It wasn't that I hired the wrong person, but I remember I hired an individual and had them running the food pantry. This is probably a good 12 years ago, probably 10, 12 years ago. And the person was doing a great job. And one morning I was in my basement and where my office is, and I was praying very early in the morning, and all of a sudden I heard the inside, "You got him in the wrong position." And I'm like, what is that all about? And because I really didn't know the person, their background 100%. So that morning when I came to work and I asked the person, I said, "Could you meet with me for a couple of minutes?" I said, what is your background? What did you do in other churches where you served? And the person had an extensive background in children's church. So I'm like, okay, duh, that's what's going on here. Not only do you need to be sensitive to who you hire, but where you put them. Because sometimes we think, well, I have a need in this hole has to get filled here. And so we end up hiring somebody, put them in there, only to realize, no, that's not where they function the best. And this individual took the children's department to a whole new level. But then it left me a hole in the food pantry, so I had to hire somebody else for that. But I think that's just as important as having the wrong person as having the right person, but in the wrong position. And Rick, I think you covered that greatly. Like you know, in the natural, you would think, well, I need more engineers, or I need architects, or I need people that can draw plans. But in reality, you need somebody to free you up to do what you can do. And that's the mistake that we make. Like you said, if you go too long in that, doing everything yourself, you get used to doing everything yourself, and you get comfortable doing everything yourself, and then you start entertaining the mindset, nobody can do it as good as I can. And that limits your growth, because you got to get yourself, and this is something that took 10 years of my staff and my sons on the staff to convince me to start delegating things, because I was used to doing everything myself. But yeah, you got to whittle it down to, okay, what can only I do? That's what I should be doing. Whatever else somebody else can do, either just as good or even better than me, don't ever have the fear to add people who may know stuff that you don't know. That's how we grow. And sometimes there's that hesitancy. We don't want to bring anybody in that knows more than we do. So, and honestly, sometimes that's wise too, because then you become the employee and they become the employer. They call the shots. So you got to have a balance there.
That's so true. Recently, my coach said to me, figure out how much you're worth per hour. And so I was like, okay, and I figured it out. And then she was like, okay, isn't it worth spending X amount of dollars to hire this person to do X task? And I was like, absolutely. So if we put it in a practical sense, figuring out how much you're worth per hour and then saying, wow, this is so important for me to delegate and give this responsibility. And a lot of the times it's responsibilities that I don't even like to do. I like people. I like being face-to-face with my clients, showing houses, networking, and all the things I don't like to do are sitting in front of the computer and doing social media and marketing. And those are easy tasks that you can pay a very small amount to somebody to do for you so that you in turn can enjoy your career that much more. So besides financially, how has hiring somebody helped your business? Does anybody want to speak on that?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, we started out as a team, and we all kind of did different tasks. So we kind of had a business, even though we didn't really formulate it in that way. It just kind of all came together. But speaking on the admin, yeah, that was also our first hire. And if anybody's looking for admin, I mean, it's a lot easier now. You can get a virtual assistant. You can pay somebody about $3 an hour. You got to do a lot of training. But there's also something called VA Hub. You can pay somebody about $8 an hour. So I just wanted to mention that real quick. But it frees up your time. It allows you to do and chase things that you're actually passionate about. And it may not be just about what your job is or what your task is. I'm also passionate about real estate and helping people. But I also found that I was passionate about helping people in other ways. So my son now, who's 10, he has special needs. And at some point, the Field of Dreams was an idea. I went out and sought out and said, how can I help? And then that became almost another job for me. And I'm not getting paid for that, but that was something more of a journey to know that I could do something for my son and help others with special needs. And without my business partners also saying like, okay, you can go help. You can go help fundraise. You can do whatever you want. Go to meetings, whatever it may be. They also help sponsor. They agreed to help sponsor the field, which was great. I didn't think that they were going to do that. That was just write a check. Go ahead, do what you want to do. And having people to help you that are also on the same page. I didn't know that going into that meeting, that first meeting with the founder. I didn't know that they were going to say yes. We're for this too. I hope that they would be, but that goes back to being in business with the right people that also feel the same way about certain things. So if you're surrounding yourself with good people, when those opportunities come up, I mean, it was just easy. So.
Add to that, that's so extremely important. I mean, it's a biblical principle. The Bible tells us, how can two walk together except they be in agreement? And the worst thing you can do is bring an employee in, and even worse than that, to bring a partner in that you don't have the same set of values, the same core beliefs and foundations, because you will be in a struggle. And then that gets complicated, because if the person is really good at doing their job, but you're not on the same page, you got a disaster on your hands. So thank God for your partners that allow you to do what you need to do in addition to what's going to benefit them in the natural. So.
Great.
To
Yeah,
add to
of
that
course.
real quick. I wish I could say at this point in my career that I never hired the wrong person. I don't know how many of you feel the same way. There has been many times where I've sat in front of a person, interviewed them, and inside myself, it's going, bah, bah, don't hire that person, don't hire that. And I've went and I've hired that person. Don't ignore the red flags. Don't ignore the red flags. That's the Holy Spirit inside of you saying, don't hire that person. I've hired people in the past that almost destroyed my business because I thought I could trust them, but in the long term, I couldn't. And a lot of challenges arose that we had to overcome as a business because we ignored the red flags. So don't ignore that. Take a step back. Pray about it. Seek counsel if you need to, but don't ignore the red flags.
That's so good. The red flags, the Holy Spirit is so good to us. He promised to be our counselor. And that alarm that's going off in your body, that's the Holy Spirit telling you to either pause, take a step back, pray about it, but definitely not move forward. So that was really good, Pastor Mike. Thank you so much. So how do you place your employees in the right role? I know at Keller Williams, we do something called a DISC assessment where we ask some questions and we do some letters and figure out what the person is and where they would be best. So does anybody have a system in place on how to place your employees in the right role?
We also do the DIS assessment for staff. It's super important to understand you sitting across from each other for an interview for 15 minutes, half an hour. You're not going to really get deep. Doing a deep dive assessment like that, it'll really tell you who that person is. They may think that they're an integrator or they're creative or there's something that they're not. And going through and having that assessment done so you can actually look at it and say, oh, this person thinks that they're one thing, but they're really not. And over time, I think we've really found that our best hires are, from referrals, from people that we know, like and trust. We posted on Indeed, and we've been through applicants, and people come in, and again, I think 90% of the people that are on our staff, knew somebody that actually already worked with us, and they were given kind of the green light, but. Like Pastor Joe said, I mean, when you need to fill a hole because you're just behind and you just need to hire somebody and that happen to be, they check the box, their resume looks good, and you think they can do the job, but it's just like, something's off, and more recently we've just passed on those opportunities, even though it puts, more work on us and more work on the staff. We're just like, it's just not right. Something's off. It's not going to work long term.
I think the important thing, whether it's a ministry or a business, like just across the board, everyone you hire represents you. They represent your business or represent you personally. So you got to really, you got to know on the inside, yeah, this is something that God's endorsing. And I'm not trying to make it super spiritual. It's just, he wants you to succeed. He's not going to, he's going to tell you, hey, this is not, or maybe not now. It might not be that the person's wrong. It just might be the timing is off. And so it's extremely important because they can do damage. People can do damage to your business. Even when I was in the restaurant business and food business, catering business, everybody represents your company and represents your brand and who you are. So it's important. Even somebody who maybe works behind the scenes, they still have a sphere of influence in their life. And if they're going to go and tell whoever their contacts are and family, friends, neighbors, hey, this guy's not good at his business, he's not doing a good job, it can harm you. So I'll just throw this out and we can move on if you want. We're commanded to love, we're not commanded to trust. I'm going to say it again because we think it goes hand in hand. We're commanded to love. Trust is earned. Allow people to establish a track record in your life. With some people, it takes years. Other people, it's a little bit sooner. So I hope that helps.
Before we segue into our next topic, which Justin just helped us with, does anybody have any questions on this topic in particular of leverage and hiring? Or have we covered it all?
Yeah, I got two questions, actually. For the rest of the panel, how do you guys feel about putting your spouse, like, in a management situation of your company? Because I know Mike, Mike's situation, but I've also heard it stresses both relationships, the work relationship and your at-home relationship. I'm coming into a business where most likely my wife is going to be my office manager. I have some hesitation with it, not on her performance, just based on weighing, do I want to risk our relationship for a business relationship? So that's one question. And then my second question is, when...
Question at a time, or do you
That's
want
fine.
us to?
Yeah, that's fine.
Because it might get muddled if the
Yeah,
questions are two different. My wife and I have worked together. Out of the 46 years that we're married, 43 years. But it goes in seasons. For instance, when we first started having children, we had a babysitter. It was an older woman that lived next door to us. We'd come home and we'd find the baby's food in the refrigerator. And we used to call her Mom. Mom, did he eat it? Oh, yeah, he ate good. But the kid's food's in the refrigerator. So we came to the conclusion that it was more beneficial for me to hire somebody to work with me and for her to stay home and take care of our kids. Now, when the children got older, it was a different story. So you're going to have to know, okay, because you're the leader there. You're going to have to know, when can I put pressure on my wife to produce, and when should I back off? Now, in the beginning, you're probably not going to have much of a choice, but just be careful that you don't put too much on her, because you still have young children, all right? And specific to you, and I don't think it's harmful for me to say this, your wife's dad just passed away not too long ago, so you're going to need to be sensitive to the seasons of when you can lean on her and when you can't. And in the future, you may find that it's more beneficial for you in your relationship to hire somebody rather than have her be under that pressure, because now you're expecting her to take care of household bills, plus to take care of bills for the business, plus raise your kids, plus deal with other stuff in life. So be careful of that. There was a time not too long ago that when my mother-in-law was still alive, my wife for 7 years took care of her mom practically 24/7. So now she's running oversight of the finances and bills and everything here in the church, our household stuff, plus her mother's bills. It was like, I have to back off here and not give any responsibility whatsoever. So I think it's safe to say you're going to need to be sensitive. You're going to need to allow God to show you when you can and when you can't. Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I guess the second question is...
Chime in on that one, Ant, because I've been working with my wife now for 22 years. We have separate offices. I'll just put that out there. It's just healthier that way. So it works for us. When you got married, did you know everything about marriage? Did you guys have a few disagreements? Did you work through some things? Business is no different. You're going to have some disagreements, but you will go into it with this understanding that we can work through this. Exactly. And so, that's just learned. My wife and I, we've learned to work together. In the beginning, it was difficult because we're two different people. We both have, I would say it this way, we're both passionate about what we believe. And so, we've had those discussions.
You realize that's a code word, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Very careful about the words I use. She's here today. So you learn to work through it. With the same understanding, you're going to learn to walk through marriage because you're not always going to agree. It's the same thing in business. So we've learned to walk through it. We find it healthier to have separate offices. So if she needs to come in and yell at me about something, it's very comfortable, and then she leaves. So you'll learn how to get through it, and you go into it with that understanding. Now, being in biz for 22 years, in the beginning it was hard. But now it works for us. And so we've learned how to do that. I hope that helps a little bit.
So the second one was, if you have holes in your business as far as you need personnel to fill, sales, install labor, service labor, and they're all equally as important, which ones would you guys, like, how would you go about the process of picking which one to fill first?
Because we're in a similar business, Anthony, you're in HVAC, I'm in roofing, siding, gutters. Matter of fact, we were just on the same job yesterday. And so it all depends on you, Ant, and I'll say it this way, because I love people. I like being in front of people. I like the sales aspect of my business more than I like to swing a hammer. There was a time that I enjoyed swinging a hammer. I'm getting a little bit older now. So in this season of my life, I'm looking for those who can actually do the installation phase of my business. So I want to stay in the sales end. I want to be in front of people because I feel that's the gifting that God has given me. And so I would rather remain in that. Doesn't mean I don't have to pick up a hammer every once in a while. Doesn't mean I don't have to do some of the installation work every once in a while. But in this season of life, I gear more towards the actual sales end of it, being in front of our customers, than I do being in the installation or in the field. So it really depends on you and the season you're in. Pastor talked about seasons before. What season are you in? Identify that season that you're in. You may have to be in the installation aspect of your business for a little bit. But do this while you're in that. Train people next to you. Don't just do it by yourself. Always be training someone next to you. And that's very important, because if I'm by myself and I'm not training anyone, guess what? Long term, I'm by myself. So you always want to be training someone, the right person, and with the understanding that may not be there forever, but you always want to be training someone. So that way they can eventually take over that part, that installation aspect of your business. I hope that helps.
If you can believe this, we've run out of time. We haven't even scratched the surface of all of our questions, but I feel like this is going to be too continued at some point. But thank you so much, panelists, for all your insight this morning. Let's give a round of applause. I just want to remind everybody that we meet the second Friday of every single month at 9 a.m. We try to be really mindful, and we try to end at 10 on the spot, but you're more than welcome to stay after and network with people. If you haven't put your business card up on our corkboard in the back, please do so. If you haven't taken a gift, there's gifts in the back from Pastor Joe. Please take one as well. We are launching our first evening Entrepreneurs of Faith session for anybody that's a dual career. So our first meeting is going to be on November 30th at 6 p.m. And we just encourage you to invite anybody that you might know that is currently in a dual career and not able to make these meetings. As for this meeting, our next one is November 10th at 9 a.m. And if you parked in the thrift store lot over here and you want to stay and network, we just ask that you please move your car to the back of this building so that it's out of the way for the thrift store. All right, thank you so much for spending your Friday with us, and we're so happy to have you here.